Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to another episode of the SIL Legal Lounge podcast Let's Talk Law, a show where we talk about current affairs regarding law and policy in a frank and easy to understand manner so that everyone can end up learning something new. Today's topic is one that affects everyone in Pakistan, and that is the climate crisis. My guests for today will speak on the topic, and they are actually working on climate change at the very moment. Brief introductions before we begin. We are joined by Ms. Sadia Khalid, who is co founder and chief strategy and engagement officer at NAQSH, which is a women led social impact consultancy, and they are working specifically on climate action and social change. Hello, Sadia.
Hi, Nida. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And then we are also joined by lawyer turned entrepreneur by profession. And I'm very proud to say an SIL alumni member, Yousaf Ijaz, who is CEO of the Frontier Alliance Limited. And he is also a board member and director for an organization named Green Climate Alliance. And they are basically working on reducing emissions and educating stakeholders on the climate crisis. How are you, Yousaf?
I'm good, ma'am. Thank you so much for having us and giving opportunity to be on this platform.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm seeing you after quite a while, so it's good to have you here. And my name is Nida Tareen, and I am principal and co founder of the School of International Law, a recognized teaching center for the University of London International Programs. And I will be hosting today's segment. And I hope that I can do justice to all the questions that I have here in front of me. Let's just start at the very basic. Because what happens is कि हम लोग बात करते हैं climate crisis, climate change, climate justice, but these are not necessarily terms which everyone understands. तो सबसे पहले तो आप हमें basically define कर दें what exactly is climate change. Sadia, let's start with you.
Obviously, when we think of climate change, we're thinking of temperature rising, we're thinking of heat waves, we're thinking of, we hear about glaciers melting, heat waves are across the globe. But while climate change is also about that, we do need to realize that climate change is about people. That's where justice comes in, especially those people who suffer because of that climate change, because of those heat waves, because of those floods. When we see the floods coming, droughts happening, heat waves being hit, who gets the most impacted? Of course, those people who have the fewest resources to deal with those damages. The rural communities, the low income families, women and children, and other marginalized communities of that particular country. So for all those people, climate change then becomes an issue of climate justice. There's an international report that says that women are up to 14% more likely to die in disasters than men. So for women, that's a justice issue. We also know that people who are displaced by climate disasters are generally more women and girls. So that becomes a climate justice issue. If we speak of Pakistan in 2022, because of the devastating floods, millions were displaced. And once again, now we're seeing, as we're sitting and talking, there are, floods are creating havoc around the country. Karachi was just 2 days back, it was drowning underwater. The north is also suffering. So that turns into a climate justice issue for all those communities who have suffered the loss. You spoke of NAQSH. NAQSH, I've just recently co-founded with two other partners, and this justice is the core essence of our project. We develop projects, we co-create, keeping communities in mind, bringing communities on table, not just for them, because until we know what is it that the communities want, how can we help them, until the community is involved, top to bottom solutions don't work anymore. So we
Right.
believe in bottom up solutions.
So, Sadia, you are working on, like you said, climate action and climate justice in a way. Yusuf, I'm going to come to you now. So, you are working on
Yes, ma'am.
climate change as well. But from what I understand, your work is mostly business centric. Am I correct?
I'm not business centric. Managing the funds we receive in the organization, managing it and making sure that it's going to the right place. That's our
Okay.
main responsibility. It's more, you can call it, it's an NGO. It's an NGO under the umbrella of Parliamentarian Congress. So our job is to make sure that funds go to the right place. That's
Okay.
our main responsibility.
The question that I have is कि So then, in your analysis, what caused the recent floods in Pakistan exactly? And how is climate change involved? अच्छा, and I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. Because आपने भी
Yes,
सुना होगा हमारे यहाँ एक बहुत जनरल हम बात करते हैं कि मॉनसून है, मॉनसून में तो बारिशें होंगी. So,
yes,
it
ma'am.
comes down to a question कि is this really climate change or is this a natural weather pattern which was bound to happen and हमारे infrastructure में कोई मसला था?
Ma'am, there are many reasons, but I will start with very basic. Before I start, I will explain in very simple layman words that what is climate change. So climate change means the climate is changing. The global temperature is changing. So temperature is changing, automatically weather patterns are changing. In last few years, if we see the patterns are continuously as a normal as an individual, we can see that patterns are affecting. And if I come to this flood specifically, it's caused by two reasons. It's heavy monsoon rains and melting glaciers. These are the main two reasons and all around the world which cause the floods. But climate change is playing a big role here. It is making the weather very unpredictable. The rainfall used to take place like in months or 2 months. If I will give you a very simple example, the rainfall which used to be happen all month of August is now taking place in 2 to 3 days. So the water flow is increasing. Now, when the water flow increase, so floods is a result of it. So it is making it more intense and unpredictable.
Okay.
So the floods are much faster and much dangerous now.
So this is not just a monsoon, बरसात के मौसम वाली बारिश. This is something you're saying which is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented, and this was like I think expected. This was very much expected from last few years. Even if we talk about last COP 29, so the main agenda was these floods, and the underdeveloped or developing countries would be the most affected one because of weak infrastructure. On our infrastructure system is not prepared for these floods. It is main working on the infrastructure and fits in the infrastructure, but it definitely we need some time to now but counter it.
That's a very interesting point.
Nida, if I may add something, we talk about global warming, and because of global warming around the world, we've been hearing glaciers are melting at a very fast speed, right? And I was amazed to find out that in Pakistan, actually, Pakistan has the most glaciers in the world, the most glaciers after the Arctic and Antarctic regions. So that makes Pakistan in a very dangerous zone. If they're melting, then millions of people are living around those glacial lakes, right?
Yeah.
And that causes a threat to those people. So we do really need to, as Yusuf said, we need to take quick action to safeguard those people.
So my question was going to be, generally which communities are, most affected by the floods? And then Yusuf also mentioned कि we have, poor infrastructure. Now the question is
Yeah.
कि infrastructure फिर किधर हमारा poor है? Because if the flood का ये जो सारा disaster था, if all this damage had happened in some आपके यहाँ बिल्कुल remote area जहाँ ज्यादा development नहीं है, that would make some sense. But
Yeah.
you're finding that this damage is now happening in all your tourist spots. It's happening in a metropolitan commercial hub like Karachi as well. So it's kind of like there is no criteria. I mean, it's happening everywhere. We even saw videos कि इस्लामाबाद के कुछ sectors में जो आपके कुछ नई housing societies हैं, उधर flooding हो रही है और बहुत बहुत ही
That's also
खतरनाक किस्म की
because
flooding है.
that's also because Nida, Yusuf mentioned कि poor infrastructure तो है, but then the rain that was expected to, Pakistan has always had monsoon season.
Yeah.
We've always seen rain, but then imagine we've had very dry months in the past 1 or 2 years where we would think Pakistan, Islamabad hasn't had rain for the longest, and then suddenly rain
Exactly.
pours and it pours like anything. So the month-long rain has when it pours down within 2 or 3 days, so even well-developed cities can drown. I mean, it's not just Pakistan that's suffering. It's not only global South that's seeing floods, of course, at much higher rate. But then we've seen France being Spain in
Absolutely. Yeah.
floods, right?
Got it.
So when climate change happens, then even those developed countries who have proper planning of infrastructure, I guess, then it doesn't work.
आई मीन इट्स डिस्टर्बिंग बट एक रियलिटी है कि आप देखें कि ज़्यादा क्लाइमेट चेंज और क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस की बात ही तब शुरू हुई है व्हेन इट केम टू योर सिटीज व्हेन इट वाज हैपनिंग
It's
इन
always it always happens
हैपनिंग
like this.
व्हेन इट वाज हैपनिंग इन अदर एरियाज उस तरह की जो है आप कवरेज नहीं दे रहे थे, हम उस तरह की हमें परेशानी भी नहीं थी। बट जब अपने शहरों में अब बात आ रही है तो नाउ एवरीबडी इज सिटिंग अप टू टेक नोटिस। So my question then is, what plans or policies are in place to protect Pakistanis from climate related disasters? Do we even have any?
Ma'am, before coming to this, I want to add to Ma'am Sadia's and your discussion that if we see cities are affecting, rural areas are getting affected. Here we can have a very big example. Last year we got flood in Dubai. Dubai is known for its infrastructure development. They are known for this is it's a very rich country, a very small country with a lot of resources. So even they face the floods. Now the thing is, climate change or rainfalls don't see that where I'm going. Am I going to a rich country or to a poor country?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean, but we were not expecting it. Even if I talk about Islamabad, I talk about Karachi. Even Islamabad, Karachi infrastructure was developed to absorb a certain rainwater. It was not prepared to absorb these kind of weathers. So
Yeah.
now with time they are shifting, with changing, but the difference here is very big. If you see Dubai, I assume that we won't see such floods in Dubai again because they are now revamping their infrastructure. They are preparing for it. They are working on it. Even in Islamabad, if you've seen, they are working on it. They are finding the solutions. But the rural areas and poor communities that will remain affected because there we can't see any change. These floods are not coming for the first time. Yeah, definitely the intensity is increasing. But if we talk about northern areas of Pakistan, we talk about Swat. Swat is getting affected from last 15 years. Every year it is affected by the flood. We can see people are affected, houses are getting destroyed. So
So
I
what
think
are we
that, but
doing for
still there is
that?
no
That
solution.
is my question. What are we doing for that? Do we
So
have
ma'am,
any
here it's
policies in place?
we have on paper we have very good policies, but implementation is a big question mark here. So I think now government is also very serious about it. They are now trying to implement it, but in my if I've thought very honestly, it will still take a good amount of time because infrastructure change or making it finding a solution is easy, but implementing the solution is a very difficult job. And as a country, as a province like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is the most affected area, so they have limited funds, they have to manage it in limited funds, and they are also promised from international organizations.
Sadia, is it true that Pakistan is not even a major contributor to this current climate crisis?
Of course, just Pakistan and many other countries in Global South in generally doesn't contribute much to the global emissions. In Pakistan, numbers show it's only under 1% of the global total share, but we're still at the front lines of the damage that is caused by climate change.
Okay, so how are the developed countries helping Pakistan? Because as I understand from what you have also said, they are the major contributors to this problem, and Pakistan is suffering the aftermath. Are they helping us in any way?
I think that the conversations are happening. If you've heard of COP, COP in short means COP is short for Conference of Parties. Parties means refers to those countries who signed a contract, an agreement, an international agreement. For climate change. So COP is actually a meeting, annual meeting that happens every year, and all these countries come together to discuss about climate change. In that, of course, Pakistan plays a huge role in COP 27, I believe. After 2022 floods, Pakistan actually led a loss and damage funds conversation where they were able to secure that fund. It hasn't come through. So there have been conversations that happens on international platforms where Global South is pushing for the agenda, where Global North needs to develop a fund whereby after if god forbid a natural disaster happens in any of these global south countries, those funds can be used for recovering the losses. So this still in the process.
But it's in the process.
But yes, I will have to mention Pakistan did play a huge role in leading in securing that.
You're saying that it's going to take a while to actually have those funds, come to Pakistan and for us to utilize them towards, climate preservation. And Yusuf also
I
mentioned,
would hope.
I mean, exactly, we can hope so. Yusuf, आपने भी mention किया था कि, it's going to take a few years, like you said, for real change to come. We don't have a few years by the way things are going, do we?
I would also mention that that's not that we are receiving funds. That's not that we are not receiving at all. We are getting funds from international organizations, and they are supporting Pakistan. But like if the damage is 100%, we are getting only 10%. So if we want a solution with a 10% of funds to recover 100%, so it's difficult. It's difficult. I think here the right strategy is very important. To utilize the right 10% on the areas which are most affected. Definitely, I think because funding is not a simple process, it takes time, and I think it's a procedure, and that procedure we have to follow. So we are already on the track, and I think hopefully, maybe early, we are receiving short tranches of that fund. So when the tranches are coming, but again, here it's very important that, right, again, I would come to the same point that getting fund and utilizing it properly is very, very important. So for that, I think our ministry is also working. Climate change ministry is now focused on it, and now I think they have given somehow a minimal priority to it. Still, it's not on the priority. Climate change in Pakistan is a harsh reality for us, but on the social media, it's on the priority. But if we go to the cabinets, or if we go to the top government offices, I think there it is still they haven't brought it on priority.
That's disturbing if it's not a priority even now. तो फिर बात वही बन जाती है. It comes down to, the general public, to the communities, to the people. So, Sadia, let's start with you. How can people or communities protect themselves or get involved in climate action?
Okay, so yeah, Nida, if we have to protect ourselves from something, we need to understand what are we protecting ourselves from. So if people do not even understand what climate change is, how are they going to suffer? Th- they will never do anything to protect themselves. So first of all, I believe climate awareness needs to take place, and that too in a way that people understand what it is about. Why should people in Pakistan care? In a country like Pakistan, where people are already suffering from, they're facing political, economical, and poverty related extreme challenges. Why would they care about a topic they don't understand? So we need to make people like people who are working for climate change, they need to make climate crisis very personal. So people will then act when they see that climate change is affecting their daily lives. Food prices are going up, health is deteriorating. When the natural disasters happens, their children's schooling suffers, their homes get damaged, their livelihoods get damaged, the infrastructure gets damaged. And when people see that destruction, they understand it, that this is happening because of climate change, then they lean in, they listen it attentively, and they become more interested in how they can play a part in climate action. So I believe, I am a communication person. I've always worked in comms. So I believe climate communication really matters. We need to make it more simple, local, relatable, how we communicate. And that that will help people understand it. And then once they understand it, we can make them do something about it. I personally believe that.
So, Sadia, how do you make this personal or how do you involve the community?
In Pakistan, countries like Pakistan, many steps can be taken to make it simple and local. One being that you use this local and simple language so people understand. Second, you utilize leaders within those communities. Those could be faith leaders. In Pakistan, a majority of people are they connect very deeply to religion, whether they're religious or not religious, but they deeply connect, especially in the rural communities. So if you use those leaders, community leaders होते हैं, ये जिरगा के leaders होते हैं, मस्जिद के leaders होते हैं, imams होते हैं, you include them, you communicate them, you can communicate with them, you train them, and then they can pass on their knowledge, their awareness to the people who understand. And लोग फौरन से बात सुनते हैं अपने community leaders की. So we need to realize that just talking about climate change in boardroom meetings or in podcasts, I mean, they should happen, of course, but other than that, हमें tap in करना है communities को. We need to tap into what is it that community really finds respectable. So हमारे imams are always very respectable. मस्जिद के लोग are very respectable. In the rural areas especially. तो आप उन leaders को utilize करें. I was working for a project and for recently, and it was called Faith for Our Planet. So we utilized faith leaders across all religions. We trained them, and then they would go back to their communities and talk about climate change and climate crisis. And not to forget that 80% of the entire world population identifies with at least one religion.
No, that's actually a
And
very
also,
good suggestion. Like आप जिस तरह आपका खुतबा होता है मस्जिद में, you can also start, talking about climate preservation because again, हमारी religion में भी इस्लाम में अगर आप देखें, there
जी
is definitely an emphasis on, looking after your surroundings and planting trees and so on. So this is something which could be explored further. So Yusuf, what do you think basically the youth can do in particular regarding climate change awareness?
ma'am, I think the youth have the very big opportunity right now in this generation. Our generation have is the social media platform. By
Yeah.
social media platform, if we utilize it properly and we take the right, we can make people aware of it. Because social media is right now a tool which is used by even the lower middle class, even lower class, or upper middle class. Everyone is using this
Yeah.
source for information. As I agree with Ma'am Sadia that yeah, most and these education organizations, institutions can make aware, but the social media awareness is more impactful right now. Should grow more for the campaigns. They should share the awareness. They should start from their home. They should first fix their home. Also, aware their parents about it. At least they should grow for plantation. Tree plantation is very important because in Pakistan we are having a lot of deforestation right now. It's going on in the northern areas of Pakistan, and I think to cover that, the only solution is now we start plantation and make it to the get it to the equal level.
All right. Okay. And
Nida,
generally,
here I'd like to add something.
yeah.
Nida, I'd like to add something. Yusuf said about tree plantation, and I personally absolutely believe that it's the least and the smallest and the most easiest thing for us to do towards climate action. So just like a month ago, I was sitting with a few friends and we decided let's do tree plantation. And we meet for coffee, so let's meet for tree plantation. We've made a group on WhatsApp. A lot of people have joined. They've showed a lot of interest. Young mothers were showing interest that we want to bring our kids along, so they develop this sense of environment from the get-go. So if anyone who's watching and is interested can get in touch with Nida, and Nida can let me know. We were just waiting for the crazy rains to end, inshallah, and then we can start within Islamabad. There's so much development happening, the roads and all of that. That's great, but then a lot of deforestation has also happened in Islamabad, the entire Pakistan, Islamabad for now. And chalo, if nothing else, then at least we can start planting trees, which can
Absolutely.
actually serve the purpose for the community, and also it's a sadka jariya if we talk about religion. So let's join hands in doing that. A lot of people are doing it, but let's do it as together.
Absolutely. And I think if I mean, I would like to add over here that if there are small steps that you can take on a personal level, because देखिए हमने अभी बात आज
Yeah,
भी की है, what is the government doing or what is
yeah,
the developed world doing? It really boils down to, I think, individuals. Community भी जो है, that is made up of all these individuals and
yes,
conscientious individuals if they decide to, take the plunge. So maybe start with your own home, like go green. Stop
yeah,
wasting paper, maybe don't print so much, switch to wherever you can avoid using paper. Like for instance, in my office, for instance, we try not to print stuff. We've switched to PDFs. अगर हमने books भी करनी होती हैं, हम PDF format में करते हैं. And for instance, stop using disposable paper, plastic plates, cups, use actual plates, use actual glasses, use actual forks and spoons. Do whatever you can. Try to limit the amount of waste that is basically coming from your unit, your house, from, your person, basically. So I know that this sounds cliched because, we've heard about this for ages, but the question is how many of us actually, follow this through? हम लोग कितना एक बात है हम कितना पेपर जाया करते हैं कोई भी चीज हमने जो है करनी होती है चाहे दो लाइनें होती हैं वी गेट अ प्रिंट आउट एंड आफ्टर अ व्हाइल यू क्रम्पल इट इनटू अ बॉल एंड थ्रो इट अवे that is contributing to it whether you want to believe that or not. Plastic
Exactly.
bags that you're using, आप दुकान पे जाते हैं प्लास्टिक बैग्स यूज करें. बहुत अच्छी बात है कि काफी अब जगहों में जो है they've stopped using plastic bags and they're encouraging you to use these reusable bags. But how far has that plan gone? Are people as aware of this?
with young people. Nita, with young people, yes, I believe that young people are far more conscientious than the older lot. You know, young people are, and how they can play a role. Young people are also very activism prone. You know, around the world, you see people, young people, talking about affairs that maybe a few decades ago we weren't that involved with. And plus, over the past decade, we've seen social media flourish, and young people are on social media. Social media is a very powerful tool, as Yusuf just said. So they should be engaged. We should engage young people in advocacy. We should help them create awareness campaigns, community projects. And once we include them, once we involve them, they will feel the need to talk about it because they are doing so. They are the future inheritors of planet. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, our children, they're going to be inheriting this earth. What do we want to leave behind for them? And what do they want in their future? Once they know that, and then they'll get involved, something good will happen, inshallah.
Here, ma'am, I also want to add on a very lighter note, another important thing for us is we have to come out of this. ये अल्लाह कर रहा है, अल्लाह के काम
Oh yeah.
है. So it's very important to come out of this. अल्लाह के काम तो है, लेकिन अल्लाह ने आपको भी मतलब there's a brain which works, जिसको आपने इस्तेमाल भी करना है. So I think we need to come out of this. Allah ke kaam hai, because majority, even still, after these floods, when I went to my village or even to the areas, because my village is one of the most affected area for this flood. So when I met people there, they have made huge losses. Even if I talk about farmers, the the poor, I think that's the most poor class of Pakistan. The farmers, they have affected a lot. Then their houses are damaged. So if I still talk to them, they said that their answer was कि Allah के काम है और we can't do anything about it. So Allah का अज़ाब आया हुआ है, God is not happy. So yeah, I know God is not happy with us, because what we are doing to this earth is He must not be happy with us. But I think we have to
Absolutely.
change the mentality, and that changing of mentality will take some time. But I'm very much hopeful that yeah, it will one day. People will realize, because I'm pretty sure if you see next year, if we have this podcast again, and the flood damage which is caused, the houses are affected. Next year, you will see these houses again there. They will start building it again. They are just waiting for the
Yeah.
monsoon season to be
I
stopped.
think that
They
is
will
the
start working
frustrating
again there.
part. We are not learning from our mistakes. I
We are
think
not
that
learning.
is
Yeah.
the problem. कि अभी भी I was using social media the other day, and there was this travel group, and somebody had posted, oh, is it safe to go to पता नहीं to Hunza? And everybody was like, no, stay home. People are still wanting to travel. They know kitni devastation hui hai. Can we go to Kumrat? Can we go here, there? Please stay home. The mountains are not calling. Disaster hua hua hai. But hum log, for some reason, why aren't we learning? Sadia, I think you can give us some insight into that. Why are we not learning from this?
Yeah, but a good question, Nida. I mean, why are we not learning? Where's the management? Why is the management not making us learn? I mean, yes, they say do not travel, but then I was having this. I always have this discussion with the few friends, and they always disagree. I always say that, look, why do people need to go? And they say, look, Sadia, people are pro. They are species who also want entertainment. With all that's going around in
Yeah.
Pakistan, people are very down. People are not. People need an escape, so they want to go to Murray. They want to go to all these northern places where they can, be outside their house with their families to enjoy. So that need is so high that even though they know that the devastation is happening, they're hoping that today might be a better day or a good day for them to travel. Yeah. And then there's so much population in Pakistan. So if everyone is thinking that today might be a good day to travel and today might be a good day to be with family outside,
Yeah.
then that happens. So management needs to be present. They need to be, for example, if 100 cars are crossing Murray Toll, then the 101, the next car should be stopped.
Hmm.
So it's their duty, I believe. I think that, I mean, of course, it's also the public's duty, as Yusuf said, कि उनको उनको परवाह नहीं गई. लोग बेपरवाह हो गए हैं कि अच्छा हो गया. We've also become very desensitized. Look at what is happening in the world.
रहे थे ना कि unless it hits close to home, affect नहीं करता. You saw so many cafes and hotels and क्या कुछ being swept away by rivers. वो फिर से उधर उसी जगह पे बना देंगे. So where is the check and balance? Where is the management?
Here, I would think that states, as Ma'am Sadia said, I completely agree with her, that state also have a very big responsibility. because as a human, if मैं आपको बड़े simple उसमें चलेंगे, if this on the F10 road we turn off the signal, there is a signal, and tomorrow government announces that there is no fine. There is no fine, no challan if you cross the red signal. So you would see everyone would be crossing the red signal. First, I would be the first one to cross it.
Yeah.
So that's the harsh, that's the reality which we need to accept. So I think this is a state responsibility, because as a human, we only stop from what we know the consequences are coming towards. But I think the consequences are already coming. But we think it's not happening with us. It's happened with XYZ, with Mr. A, Mr. B, but it will never happen to me. Like Mr. A got in the car accident, but I will never go into car accident. So that's the nature, that's the human nature around the world. It's not only in Pakistan. But every state have their own policies for it. They have their own restrictions to control the society. So I think state have a very important role here. They need to stop people. That's their responsibility. That's their job. If they're the minimal job they are not doing, as a if I were taught about on a level that deputy commissioner or a commissioner, and police or rescue, this is their responsibility to stop the people from if people are going towards Hunza or Sturdu and they know that floods are coming, so they need to close the road. If they are happy or they are, because as a human we are not happy with following the laws. That's very difficult thing
I
to
think that's
follow.
also a problem of, like we're talking about deforestation and all of that. So development versus preserving nature. I think एक वो भी issue जो है, that is something which comes into play. So in your example, Yusuf, it's tourism revenue versus, well, dangers of flooding and, people losing their
Yeah,
lives.
it's tourism against the life.
Yeah.
So I think the life is more important. Tourism, we have a lot of places even that where no, not the floods are not affected. We don't need to go to the flood area.
Yeah.
If I were given a choice to go to northern area of Pakistan, I would prefer Murray, because I know that Murray is a bit safe, so I have to go on the safer side.
There have been flash floods there too, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. But I think still, like, it's more safer than that. But if you are talking to people, I had discussion with a lot of people. They want to go to Swat, they want to go to
Yeah.
Kumrat, they want to go to Gilgit. So I think they are just jumping in the death and they are ready for it. They are just waiting.
So that was a very, very insightful discussion. And, at some points, I think we can all just agree that it really boils down to each and every one of us, because this is something which affects all of us. And yes, definitely, the governments, the managements, they need to make sure that they enforce rules to make sure that, such disasters don't continue happening. And we need to develop, I think, a long-term memory as well, so we don't repeat the mistakes that led to this devastation in the first place. Thank you so much, Sadia and Yousaf, for your time today.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
so
Thank you
much
for
for
having us.
having me.
And I really hope that the next time we meet, we have more pleasant things to discuss.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, we all do.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Take
Inshallah.
care, and
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
so much, everyone, for watching. If you have any questions or any comments, please do email them to us at info@sil.edu.pk. Thank you so much for watching. Allah Hafiz.